good. Thank you
Mhm.
so much for responding. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I can start with introducing ODS, so the One Democratic State Initiative. So basically, it's a Palestinian-led initiative, and we defend a political vision for the future of Palestine, which is an inclusive state that is democratic, meaning that so all citizens would have the same right in front of the laws, have the same political representations. So real democracy that also includes returning Palestinians. Um, but this state, like this vision that we defend, it's also secular, and it's also for social justice. So it includes restitution of stolen property and land, and distribution of social welfare and resources like among citizens. So that's the idea. That's what we defend. And then the initiative does a lot of advocacy and outreach to individuals, organizations, to have people endorse this this solution that we defend. And so we do that by reaching out to these individuals and groups. And the objective is basically to put the question of the future of Palestine on the table. So yeah, that's it with a bit of background. Um, and yeah, can you introduce Vegan for Palestine?
Yeah, so I'm the public image chair for Vegans for Palestine. I like to say that I am an anti-Zionist Jew. I'm a photographer, a healthcare professional, and Vegans for Palestine was created by a group of vegans who were disappointed in the vegan community because they were not advocating for Palestine. As vegans, we oppose all forms of oppression and stand for justice for all living beings. The goal of the group is to inspire other vegans to advocate for Palestine and Palestinians. We have a board member who is Palestinian and lives in occupied Palestine. We have a couple couple members from Gaza and West Bank in our group, and we have members from all over the globe, around 25 different countries. Yeah, so that's the gist in short.
Okay, great. Yeah, that definitely resonates because I mean, as I told you before, I'm also vegan, and I also feel this like being disappointed with the community somehow, although like I don't have a vision of the whole community, but definitely resonates.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it was so nice to find this community because we don't have to like explain ourselves. Everything makes sense to all of us.
Yeah. Mm-mm. And can you share when and why you became vegan?
Yeah, so before I was vegan, I was a vegetarian. I've always loved animals and never understood why people ate them. So growing up, I didn't really eat meat or anything like that. And then my eyes opened up to the cruelty of factory farming, how non-human animals are tortured and murdered, not only by just meat products, but also dairy, eggs, and all that. Also, humans are tortured, or not tortured, but dismembered sometimes in factory farms and mistreated and don't get the correct medical care, as well as the environment is affected by factory farms, which goes in hand with what's happening in occupied Palestine. Bombs and white phosphorus is bad for the environment for humans as well, and the animals, of course. But yeah, so I know being vegetarian wasn't enough because I was still causing this harm. And I made the switch to veganism in 2011. I never looked back. It was the best choice I ever made. Um, I like to define veganism as a lifestyle and not a diet, because it's not only just not eating animal products or animals, but we're not wearing animal products. We're not, washing our hair using beauty products that were um, tested on animals and all that and have animal products in them. And so being vegan isn't only about caring about non-human animals. We extend this compassion to humans, and we are animals, humans are. So that's why I identify as an intersectional vegan. I believe that all oppressions are connected, and vegans should be advocating for those who are marginalized, and that includes Palestinians.
Okay. And can you share also like what's the starting point? When did you start supporting Palestine and why?
Yeah, so I was kind of ignorant before October 7th. And after October 7th, my eyes opened up and I started doing research. Um, and I have friends who are Palestinian, and they also opened up my eyes and helped me learn a little bit more. Um, but I did have like a general idea of what was going on before then, but not to the extent I do now. And it just really connected me to it. And yeah.
Mm, okay.
Mhm.
And did Vegan for Palestine already exist before October 7th?
No, it was after October 7th. It was because of um, the lack of voicing from the vegan community about the situation. They were disappointed in the vegan community, and yeah, I didn't join until a few months after they started.
Okay. And do you like how is Vegan for Palestine received in the larger community? Do you find any opposition or ignorance?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the audience. There are vegans, and then there are plant-based Zionists, as we like to say. Unfortunately, the majority of our community seems to be the plant-based Zionists, and they're unwilling to be intersectional. The only anti-Semitism I've ever experienced is from plant-based Zionists. They've called me a Jew, a self-hating Jew, a shame, a disgrace. They're full-time bullies, but they don't realize that Arabs are Semites too. So it's just ridiculous. But I have received a lot of support as well. That's why I like being a part of Vegans for Palestine, because I can rely on my community to like uplift me. And, if we're in the comment section on social media, they'll all come in and we'll all help each other out and make sure that we're not getting bullied.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely relate. I think for me, what I find very surprising and enraging are vegans who are intersectional, but turn completely silent when it comes to Palestine. People who have been defending rights of minorities, and then you're like, but what are you waiting for? Mm,
Yeah. It's it's very frustrating, and it's like a disconnect that I just don't understand. And also a lot of vegans are saying that we should stay in our lane, like stop, we should only be advocating for animals, not for humans. And I just think that's kind of funny because like I'm a vegan and a queer, and I don't only advocate for one of those things. So you can't just like not be intersectional.
mm, yeah. Mm. And so going a bit more concretely, how does Vegan for Palestine support Palestinians today?
Yeah, so currently we're advocating for two vegan cousins who are raising funds to evacuate. We're also helping to advocate for our this initiative called Vegan in Gaza. They're making plant-based parcels and distributing them to people in need in Gaza. And then our finance committee is working on raising funds for future Palestinians who may need our help. We also host webinars on our social media and to raise awareness about Palestine and educate our members as well. We encourage vegans with a high influence on social media to post about Palestine and the GoFundMe's we're advocating for, as well as the other initiatives we advocate for. And we have a podcast, which is called What the Batih. I can't pronounce it that well, so apologies. And it's in Arabic. So we talk about intersectional veganism, greenwashing, the stories behind Vegans for Palestine. Do you know what greenwashing and vegan washing are?
Greenwashing, yes. Vegan washing, I had never heard it before. But maybe you can
So,
explain
yeah,
both for people who
yeah,
listen.
yeah. So, greenwashing refers to when a state or an organization appeals to environmentalism in order to deflect attention from its harmful practices. And then vegan washing is the process of promoting veganism as part of an entity's core values in efforts to obscure their contradictory actions. Sorry, my tongue tied. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. Okay. So, and do you identify specific practices of vegan washing?
Yeah, so they, the most moral army, they say that there's a lot of vegan members in IOF. Let me pull up the list actually so I can read it to you. I had this. So Israel's vegan washing, the inhumane treatment of Palestinians, destruction of their natural resources, and the effects on animals that live in Palestine. It's to paint itself with yet another brush of propaganda that suits the narrative of a progressive, civilized, and democratic state, as opposed to the neighboring nations. And it appeals to vegans and animal rights and environmental activists to deflect attention from its harmful practices, like the white phosphorus and the bombing, and how it's affecting not only the humans, the animals, and the environment. Yeah, it's like portraying them as being this humane entity when in reality they're causing so much harm and destruction to the world around them, or to the place around them and the people and the animals. Yeah, in short.
Okay, that's interesting. And so what do you think that the solution in Palestine could be? And what makes you
So,
support ODS if you do so?
yeah, so I don't know if I'm qualified to answer this question just because of my privilege, but I do believe that there should be a ceasefire, that land back to Palestinians, occupation must end, one democratic secular state called Palestine. Um, Other than that, I feel like that's pretty basic and standard, and I support one democratic state initiative because it just makes sense. It is the land of Palestinians. They're indigenous to that land, and it shouldn't be an ethno state. It should be a secular state.
Hmm.
Yeah. How do the principles of Vegans for Palestine align with the values of one state, one democratic state initiative? Can you hear me?
Well,
Oh, sorry.
I think with what you said, yeah, with what you said, it it definitely has a lot in common. As you are saying, like veganism is a fight for equality of all, respect of all species, and I think also, I mean, from my perspective, it's also a fight for environmental justice and social justice, and that goes with recognition of indigenous groups everywhere, and Palestinians are no exception to that. And I think that it also aligns with ODS in particular, because as I was saying in introduction, some of our key principles are, democracy, secularity, social justice. So it's also based on the same principles that we should all have the same rights, the same representation, access to the land, and choices over our bodies as well. So yeah, I think that it definitely aligns well, and I mean there's a reason why there's this I don't know why we are talking today, because I think that in terms of values our organizations are really aligned.
Yeah, I agree. Do you foresee any challenges with promoting ODSI among the Vegans for Palestine community?
Well, I think that in general, a lot of challenges that we find, I mean, there are different ones. One is that respecting the right to self-determination sometimes turns some pro-Palestinian people and groups, like it prevents them to answer the question of the then what and of the political solution, which I understand, but I think that it's also something that if we only focus on the now, we are missing an opportunity to fight for a given option and to choose what's coming next. And there is also, I mean, research shows that if you want to get rid of a system, if you want to you want a change or a revolution to succeed, you need to have very strong alternative. So this is like something that we really want to fight for an alternative, but it can definitely be a challenge to have people stop focusing on the here and now, which is, like right now there are so many emergencies to focus on, so it makes sense, but to also be able to look further.
Right.
And another challenge is that many people in the West have never really heard of the idea of one democratic state as a solution. Like, it goes against the like the mainstream narrative and the narrative that our governments have put forward since 76 years now, that that is this like two-state idea, which I mean, we can talk about it later, but is something that we really don't see as a solution. And they also antagonize anti-Zionism. So anything that is really like against Zionism per se is shown as anti-Semitism. There has even been a change in the definitions, which is completely insane. And we see that that's being said about the song From the River to the Sea right now. So there's really an effort to deconstruct what we've always been told and taught for like most of us, and like to start reimagining completely a world without Zionism, which is challenging for many people. And this is necessary to really defend one democratic state. So I think these are things that can definitely happen also within any pro-Palestinian community, to have like this extra effort to do.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that's something in the US we're struggling with. Like, there's been proposed resolutions stating like, oh, we're not allowed to say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And any critique on Israel is anti-Semitic. And being Jewish myself, how can I possibly be anti-Semitic? But also, do people not realize that Arabs are Semites too? Like, if anything, the Zionists are the anti-Semites. Also, what are I wanted to ask you, what are the main criticisms of ODSI, and how do you interact with the critics, and why not two-state solution?
Okay, so first, we don't really speak about two-state solution because we don't consider it as a solution. So we would like speak about the two-state proposal. But so I will start with the first part of your question. So usually one of the critique that we get, especially from people in Europe or North America, is that ODS is idealistic. And yeah, that makes sense, because the power balance is really not in favor of democratic solution, but that's the problem. And because what is the alternative to a democratic solution is what we are seeing today. So yeah, genocide is realistic, great. So yeah, we need to fight for something else. And for us, not only to state aren't feasible, they're not desirable, but what we see, and that's the most positive, more positive side of it. I mean, I don't know if we can see it positively, but if anything, is that Israel's extremism and contradiction and the effort of Palestinians and pro-Palestinians today can actually change this balance. And that's what we're fighting for, and that's what we believe in, is that the decolonization and the democratization of Palestine is possible with these efforts from a lot of people for it. And now, so when it comes to the two-state proposal, as I was saying, so what we, again, like, it's not realistic because it was never really an option. It was more about Israel gaining time on their colonial agenda that we've seen uncovering for decades. And that's why like today it's like it's not even possible to imagine two proper states, but it's also not desirable. It's not desirable. It has never been, because it's a plan that was designed by colonial powers without even considering the rights to self-determination of Palestinians. And it also so something that we again like advocate against is that it relies on the idea that identity should be politicized. So because you have Palestinian Jews on the same land, you should have a partition to have a state for Jews and a state for Palestinians. And this reproduce colonial models of unique nation states that are aggressive machines in the hands of like a certain identity against the others. So this is why for us the two states is really not an option, and that we should continue the fight for an alternative.
Definitely. I agree completely, and just love everything you said. How can Vegans for Palestine take, or what can we do as Vegans for Palestine to help support the initiative of one state solution?
So first, I mean, any support is welcome. So thank you so much for asking this question. I was saying before, one of our goals is really to put the question on the table of like a Jewish state versus a democratic state, and we want this to be at the center of Palestinian liberation discourses, because if we talk about liberation, we have to talk about what alternative do we support. So we mobilize individuals and organizations, so entities, political parties in Palestine abroad, through campaigns, online, in person. So the community of Vegan for Palestine can take part as individuals and also as a group. So as a group, if you recognize your values in ours, as we were talking about, you can officially endorse ODS, and you can use our visuals, you can contribute to putting the question on the table, you can have it as part of the education that you propose to your members and to others. And then your members as individuals, as everyone, they can join our campaigns to reach out to more individuals and groups. So to do so, anyone can actually sign up on our website. And when you sign up, you can tick the box which says, I might be able to help, to take part in the initiative. And then someone from ODS will reach out to them to see how they can take part and discuss this together.
Amazing. I love it. I'll have to propose to the board to see if we can endorse. That would be awesome. And yeah, I think I'm really glad that we're building this relationship between ODS and VFP, because it just seems like we're so aligned, and it just makes the most sense to have a one democratic secular state and land back to Palestinians. So I'm excited for the beginning of this beautiful relationship.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's also a great partnership, and really thank you so much for this. I wanted also to ask you, because we've talked about we've talked about opposition in the vegan community, but there is also a lot of silence. What would be your message to vegans who are silent and or who do not support Palestine?
Yeah, I would say as vegans, we have the duty to protect and advocate for all sentient beings, and that includes human beings. If you say that all movements should not be intersectional, what do you say to a person of color who is gay and or disabled? What would you say to a Palestinian who is gay and vegan? Should they stay in their lane and only advocate for one movement? No. We have a duty more than anyone out there to advocate for all sentient beings and to be intersectional. If you're not doing that, then you're not a vegan. You're a plant-based person. So that's my message.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I remember having a conversation. I was learning Arabic, and one of the people I was talking with was Egyptian. And when I told him that I was vegan, um, and he asked me to explain, and I also did the parallel with my support for Palestine, and and he was so surprised to see the connection between both, and I think he told me something like, oh, it's nice to see someone who cares about like multiple things, and I think that that's a like a nice message that as you're saying, like we have to care about all beings.
Yeah, it's imperative. Our Earth needs us to care. The humans on Earth need us to care. The animals need us to care. It frightens me how much people don't care.
Yeah.
You
Mm. And what would be your message for Palestinians today?
My message to Palestinians is I stand with you. I support you. I won't stop fighting for you. I hold you in my heart. I think about you when I wake up, throughout my entire day, when I fall asleep, and I believe Palestine will be free.
Thank you so much.
Inshallah.